Thank you very much for inviting me to contribute to this webinar. And it's about how the classification, what we've been discussing for the past few minutes, can actually inform patient management, how it can ultimately improve things for the, that's after all what we're here to do. I'm John Bridgewater, I work at UCL, and I've been working with AMMF and Helen and a colleague Paul for some years. First of all, just to run through what the issues, some of the issues you've already addressed, which is the slightly anatomically different parts of carcinoma. Put very simply, the intrahepatic components, they're the perihilar components, and the distal components. The intrahepatic components are those that arise within the liver. The hilar components are those that arise primarily at junction of the main bile ducts as they leave the liver. That's the hilum. And then the distal cholangiocarcinomas, or otherwise the extrahepatic cholangiocarcinomas, arise in the body of the pancreas. So those are the anatomical differences, and you've heard how best to work with those on the latest ICD codes. The critical thing about this, of course, is that it's not just anatomical, the difference, but it's also biological. And if we look at the standard of care, so this is the chemotherapy standards that we've developed over the last 10 years or so on the treatment. This is an all-comers strategy. It treats every single cancer, the intrahepatic, the hilar, and the extrahepatic in the same way. And we've worked this over the last 10 years in settings, so that's after surgery, in order to reduce the recurrence, and we've increased the overall survival poor patients using the drug capecitabine, which is a tablet. In first-line therapy, so that's where patients have advanced disease, and we've demonstrated that with the inclusion of cisplatin, we can improve the survival of patients. And then in second line, we've demonstrated that, so that's after the cisplatin and gemcitabine have failed. In second line, we've demonstrated that the chemotherapy cocktail FOLFOX, oxaliplatin, and 5-FU can also improve survival, although you'll see that this is a relatively modest benefit. So these are now the international standard of care. Everybody else in the world uses these. Just a point, these data were derived from patients in the UK. The UK is leading the world in this field. However, it is really the biology that makes the difference here. So, for instance, if you're an intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma, so that's the box at the top here, you have about a 50% chance of having a biological target, and that is a gene. That's a faulty gene that generates the cancer, and we are testing for these now. You'll have heard about the recent approval of pemigatinib by the National Institute of Clinical Excellence. We're testing for both for the use of pemigatinib and other drugs, because if you are an intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma, these ones at the top, you have a good chance of 50% chance of having one of these what we call actionable alterations, targets that we can hit with other things. And so it's very important that we know the true number, the true percentage of these, and not only just the true percentage of intrahepatic cancers, but ideally the true incidence of intrahepatic cancers that are sensitive to pemigatinib. That data is estimated. It's not entirely known for the reasons you've heard. There are other treatment options for these patients as well. SIRT, which is selective intrahepatic radiotherapy, so that's injected radiation. is approved for some patients with liver-only disease, and also SBRT, stereotactic body radiotherapy, is also available for patients with solitary recurrence of lesions within the body of the liver. So it's really important for us to know the number of these, the true number of these patients out there, in order to be able to best allocate resource and define and give all our patients, be able to predict ahead of time what our patients would be best treated with. And the same goes for the other two anatomical sites, the hilar tumors. So these patients, the treatments would be primarily stenting, SBRT, stereotactic body radiation again, and potentially transplant. There is now a discussion going on in the commissioning group, which MMF is a key member of, that is discussing the role of transplant in a very, very selected few patients in order to really move the UK into the 21st century with respect to transplant technology. So that's a really exciting development, and we're actually still discussing the guidelines for patients going into this. But once again, the true numbers of patients with hilar cholangiocarcinoma and the nature of those cancers will really help us define resource for this incredibly needy population. And then finally, with the extrahepatic cholangiocarcinomas, we have a slightly different problem in that some of these patients present with a lump in the pancreas and a metastasis in the liver, and what normally happens is that the liver is biopsied, because actually that's probably an easier place to biopsy than the pancreas, and these patients are almost inevitably called pancreatic carcinoma patients. Some, of course, are not pancreatic carcinoma patients. Some of them are cholangiocarcinoma patients with liver metastasis. And so once again, a detailed anatomical and biological description of these would be really important to work out exactly how many patients we have with these cancers. We can then decide what the resources are we need to really best support, best treat, and best improve the outcomes for our patients. And the UK registry will drive this resource allocation. I'm certain that it will do that. We've heard already how important the numbers are in this process. Thank you very much.